We have a panel on energy, and it's going to be led by an international lawyer and leading advisor on investment and business opportunities across Africa. I see him at many conferences. He's very knowledgeable. Please welcome the CEO of Polymetis, Andrew Skipper. Good to see you again.
Indeed.
You take a seat. We also have Dr. Julian Hilton, consultant to AU on nuclear energy. Please join the stage. Round of applause. We also have CEO of GNPC, Kwame, Amoah. Please join the stage as well. And we have BOST as well, Kofi Awoonor. Please join the stage. Thank you so much. Have a great, great moderated session.
Kofi's my dad.
Oh,
Oh, it works. Sorry?
Move here. Come here. You come here.
Oh, sorry. I was hoping to peer in from the side. Well, great. Yes, demotion. Great to see you, and thanks so much for the great introduction. Without these guys, you won't get a 24-hour economy. So we're going to be quick, but you should listen because they're doing what they're doing, and we need some investment. And if the oil doesn't work, we've got the nuclear coming along in a few years' time. So look, we all know energy it's not a background condition for economic planning anymore. What's happening in the Straits of Hormuz, it's a reminder, if you need it, that we depend on a narrow supply corridors, which means we need to expand that, and we need to expand the ability of African energy assets, looking at Ghana, outside that choke point, with hydrocarbon resources, the ability to turn that into something you can use, and then BOST Energy, as they're now called, will deliver it around Ghana. We've all heard also, we heard the Minister for Energy, very positive, producing, the money's in the bank, but I think you'll probably find from this panel you need a bit more. So we've got the people who get it out of the ground, as it were. We've got the CEO of GNPC, the sovereign partner. We've got, then we were going to have Ntow, but Ntow give it to BOST Energy. And if that doesn't work, Julian Hilton here will tell us what's in the plan. So as I say, we know that we have certain time constraints, and I want to start at the top of the supply chain with Kwame and Amoah. As CEO of GNPC, you're sitting at the center of Ghana's upstream energy investment environment. Could you give us your current view? Where are the live opportunities in Ghana's upstream sector? What's currently attaching capital? What does government, which sort of is you anyway, need to do differently, with some specific examples of that, to accelerate investment decisions, reduce deal timelines, all the things to talk about in Ghana, but how can you get it going? And maybe we could start with you on that, please.
Yeah, I'm glad I heard you say we need to expand oil and gas, which is good news, because
I'm neutral.
Over the years, I think we've been discussing transition issues, but from a Ghana standpoint, we need to develop our oil and gas. We just started. 15 years is not long enough. We believe that that resource that we have has to be developed very quickly to support our development agenda. And as the minister said, we started oil production in 2010, and we've seen very dramatic declines. So when the new government took over, the very urgent task was to arrest the decline. And I'm glad to say that within a matter of months, 16 months, we've been able to arrest that decline. And we are on the cusp of increasing
So how did you do that?
Well, we sat in the room with the incumbents, and that's very important. The guys who were working with us in Ghana, we took them very seriously. So we took them back into the room and discussed how they can invest more in those fields to ensure that we can stabilize production and then resume growth. And my minister mentioned that we were able to achieve a $3.5 billion agreement between ENI, Vitol, Cosmos, and Tullow. We're able to secure $3.5 billion worth of investments. We've been at it, drilling more wells, led by technology particularly. We've used and tried to leverage technology a lot. And as a result, we've drilled wells into areas that we were previously not going to go.
Well, all in 18 months?
All in 16 months. And I believe that
you better talk
we are at the point where...
You should talk to Keir Starmer.
Yeah. So we are at the point where we want to now be more aggressive in terms of bringing in more investors.
Okay.
And I think we've been very successful in that regard as well. There are a lot of majors that are interested in our eastern basin, which is a frontier basin. We have to do some work on the fiscal terms. I mean, we've been listening to them, and a lot of the things they're talking about is that there's some regressiveness in our fiscal regime. So we've sat down and we've looked at how we can look at some of those elements that are not profit linked.
Okay,
so
well,
things like...
Yeah, we'll come back to specifics, I think, because I think this is all about investors, but you are looking for investment still. Yeah. Tullow, I know, are here, so thanks to Tullow as well.
So with the investors, we've listened to you, and we're looking at how we can, correct some of the fiscal elements so that we become more competitive within the region particularly.
Yeah.
So things like the royalty and the carried interest of GNPC.
Yeah.
That's something that has come up very often, that it's a bit too significant, and we need to look at that. So we were prepared to go back to Parliament to look at those, bringing those elements down. I mean, the government take is not...
So you're saying there's a flexibility which historically may not have been there, is what you're saying?
Yes, and that flexibility is that we reduce those elements that are not linked to profitability.
Okay.
And we're ready to go to Parliament to do that. And we've got a lot of interest in our western basins. We've got a lot of interest in our eastern basins. We have the likes of Shell from the UK, very keen, to join us to invest
in West Africa.
In Ghana. Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, so we'll come back, but that's an amazing positive story. I can't believe you said 16 months. So that's, as I say, speak to our lot. So once you've got it there, BOST Energies, as you know, are, because I think you're expanding. Could you just provide us a brief overview of your recent activities and your role in the sector, energy sector, and how do you ensure, because we've heard a lot about the 24-hour economy, you've got to keep that going, because if you're not delivering it, it stops. So tell me how that works, and especially in the context of recent supply chain concerns with the Straits of Hormuz and things like that. So how does that work? I mean, it would have been nice to have Tor here to tell us how they're going to refine everything for you so you can get it. And we've seen what Dangote's doing as well. So you could perhaps mention how that might help in terms of things. So over to you. And you can have my mic.
Thank you very much. Before I answer that, I'd like to make a quick correction. I think he introduced me as Kofi Awoonor. Kofi is my father, so please forgive me. My name is Afetsi Awoonor. Thank you. So quickly, to answer your question, we take, to powering the 24-hour economy, you said, and how we work with Tor. Since we came in, we've been focused heavily on collaboration with various sister agencies, collaboration with private sector, and collaboration with the communities we engage in. The tricky thing, one of our mandates is managing strategic reserve stocks for the nation, as well as distribution and storage. However, the tricky thing about Ghana is we hold strategic reserve stocks in refined products, unlike other countries who hold their reserve stocks in crude oil that they produce, not that they've imported. So the difference is there's a much shorter shelf life for refined products. So we've went into partnership with production facilities like Ntow Oil Refinery and Ntow Oil Refinery in Ghana. And we've been working with Tor to bring back up the refinery. Recently, they just announced that they received first 1 million barrels of crude oil feedstock, and in June, the president mentioned that they'll be taking the first indigenous crude for Jubilee. I think that deserves a round of applause, right? Now, in the partnership with Tor, once the products are produced, we offtake from Tor and then distribute them within the country as well as to the export market. Since 2016 to the return of President Mahama in 2025, demand doubled. And from all projections, market surveillance, AI tools, analytics, we see a clear growth pattern that tells us that by 2030, it will double again. So if we don't invest in our infrastructure and get ahead of the demand curve, we stand a chance of being shaken by more supply disruptions and instability. Because now that's why BOST and Ntow has been working together to grow the capacity of BOST. They're currently doing 45,000 barrels per stream day. There's a immediate plan that is moving into 60,000 barrels per stream day, and in the future they want to add on additional 100,000 barrels per stream day. Now this will not only solve indigenous demand, but also demand to the Sahelian markets. We're currently supplying Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, and even Liberia from the Western Zone in Takrady. So as part of our development plans, we are also developing storage facility in Takrady in the way to serve the Western Zone and also manage the export market around that corridor, which is Sierra Leone and Liberia. In addition to that, we are developing or increasing capacity for our storage facilities around all our depots. We're also increasing capacity and adding on storage facilities for LPG storage tanks of about 30,000 metric tons in Takrady to serve the Western Zone, Kumasi to serve the Central Zone, and Bupe to serve the Northern Zone and the export market.
Sounds expensive.
That's why we need investors.
So, exactly. So, where are you looking for cash, and what sort of cash? And
that's why I'm running through some of the projects we're doing, so that if anything piques your interest, when you meet me, you know exactly what you're talking to me about. So pipeline infrastructure development, storage infrastructure development, LPG and other refined products, as well as with all this is compounded by the growing demand of lower carbon footprints in the fossil.
Tell me a bit about that, because obviously people are going to think we're just talking oil here.
And
gas.
That which is why we transition from just bulk oil storage and transportation to BOST energies, which gives us a wider mandate of not focusing on just the brown fuels, but also going green or having alternative fuel resources that are more cleaner.
Okay.
Right.
And how do you do that?
So even in our operations, we're starting with our operations. We are looking to decarbonize our operations by solarizing our depots.
Okay.
If our own energy source is clean, it sells a better story in terms of the carbon story for Ghana, which is also in line with the Ministry of Energy's transition mix and the President's agenda for resetting the economy. Right. So that's just one example.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. We'll come back to, I'd like you to think of really specific areas you want some cash from this great audience. But Dr. Julian Hilton, I met you like 3 minutes ago, and I'm fascinated. I promise I'm not going to ask you about Iran and what's going on there, because Julian works literally all over the world and has done for many years, and he's supporting the Ghana nuclear review, the atomic energy review. So you've advised the African Union, I believe, on nuclear energy across the continent. Could you just introduce what you think is the nuclear strategy and where you see Ghana specifically fitting within it, and something around why Ghana is good for this and where you see the opportunities? And I was talking to people about nuclear in Ghana like 10 years ago, and nothing's happened. So what's going to happen now, in your view?
I'm trying to string together what I would call the value chain. I've heard a lot about value chains today, and I'm very much appreciative because I fully agree with that. Why is that important? Well, the value chain consists of the 4 points I'm going to make now. The first of which is small and medium or small modular reactors, SMRs they're referred to. And that's now becoming concrete. And what is very interesting, first step in the value chain, is that Ntow, who's in senior position in the High Commission here, met Dr. Malika Moussaid, who's at the back, and myself at the Moroccan annual Fête du Trône, the Feast of the Coronation, here in London. And we started talking about what's going on in the energy needs of Ghana. And he gave one of the most brilliant short introductions to what the policy was and what you were trying to achieve I've ever heard. So I got very interested. Now, why is that a connection? Because the smaller modular reactor was what he was hoping would solve another problem, which is the energy baseload, which will be stable enough that the small and medium enterprises that they were trying to encourage to develop these new ideas, which we heard about again, high growth potential. What was important about that? Because there was a loss of young entrepreneurs, according to what Ntow told me, because they couldn't guarantee permanent, stable baseload energy. So the purpose behind this isn't just because it's nuclear, it's because it's stable energy and it's local, and because it's small, you don't have to build an expensive grid. It can service something else and be integrated into all the things you've heard about today, bioenergy, solar energy, wind energy, etc., etc. There will be other sources too to come. But that takes us back to what the SME value chain is about, which is to keep young entrepreneurs in the country developing these wonderful ideas that are popping up. One of the ways to do that is to develop value at source, as we've also heard. And value at source is one of the themes we've been listening to and trying to support in the African region, which is why we work with the African Development Bank and with the African Union Commission, because we see that too. And of course, you all know how obsessed the West is at the moment with immigration. Well, one way to persuade people to stay at home is that it's possible for them to do that economically successfully. And if they don't have the stable energy, you can see that starts to build a set of reasons why they might want to move. Now, what the value chain represents is about knowledge. And I was lucky enough to be one of the people leading a working group for the Economic Commissions for the world, UN, which was to try to build a roadmap how to get onto the nuclear pathway. And we roped in the World Nuclear Association, which some of you may know is here based in London, and they were very helpful too. And there are other potential ways of cooperating as well. But what's the key behind all of that? It's the extraordinary quality of the Ghanaian academic and professional class, as I've experienced it with great pleasure over the last 15 years. And my reference figure, who's a very good friend as well, is Professor Samuel Dampare, who is now head of the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. He's one of the brightest guys I've ever had the pleasure of helping mentor and work with. But at the same time, I'm also staggered by the number of people he brought into the various meetings we had all over the world, particularly over the African region, who were his protégés or his students, and seeing the same caliber across all of these. So of all the African countries I've been working in and worked with over the last 30 years, Ghana sets, in my mind and my experience, the benchmark for the best educated, best motivated, most balanced group in the African region. And I say that from experience, not because I want to flatter the Ghanaian thing, although I hope you feel pleased with what I just said.
So what's the realistic time frame? And for those of us who are completely ignorant about this, it all sounds a bit dangerous with all with the issues around Ghana and the things we've been hearing about in the Sahel and things like that.
If Ghana will continue to set the example for a stable, well-organized and sane economy and structure, that will help a great deal spread the message. And what is the time frame? It will take at least 6 years, even if we had the money now, to build an SMR. Mm-hmm. So what we've suggested is don't focus on the SMR, focus on building the energy capabilities, just as we've been hearing today, but see the SMR as a way of keeping the structure and the strategy focused on how to stabilize this and then how to make it localized. Now, what does that require? One final piece in the value chain, critical raw materials. Now, what we've been suggesting to Professor Samuel and others is that there is a way of integrating the energy development, the energy strategy, in a partnership. I haven't heard that word much today. The partnership means you're not just in a supply chain relationship with Ghana, taking it, because that's always, in the end, going to cause the risk of somebody coming in with lots of money, getting the materials and disappearing again. If we can build the value partnerships, starting with the intellectual part of it, because then we're all equal. The brain power is there. We've heard that point. I can only confirm that. But what that means is there a way of developing a new type of value chain which incentivizes all the partners all the way down that chain? We've heard about this end-to-end as well, completely agree. That partnership has to not just flow down, but to go round and round. Because at that point, it's in everybody's interest to stay in the partnership of the value chain. And you may have heard of this complex term, double materiality. One of the parts of double materiality is the economic part. You have to make money. And that's absolutely true. You either make it or save it or do both. But what's really keeping the glue together is the social and environmental piece. And that's what either puts people on or off this. Now, I think what will result, based on the way in which the Ghanaian people think, and I had the pleasure of spending a week in October last year there is this sense of willingness to listen, make some sort of judgment, but to then commit. And we've heard the word commit, I think, quite a lot today. And that commitment is what, in the end, makes me think that this will work. Now, back to Ntow and the High Commission, it gave us the sense about a year ago that the tipping point to get to that reset point is coming. And what we've heard today, certainly what I've heard today, suggests to me you are correct in this. This isn't just now a daydream. This is reality. But as I said to one of my colleagues the other day on the working group that we have with the African Union Commission, okay, the plane's about to take off. Have we got a good flight plan? Now, if we don't, the plane will fly around and round and round, but it won't know where to land.
And that sounds very dangerous for nuclear. So let's hope you get a plan quickly. Kwame, going back to you, I said maybe give us some specific examples of what could be invested in and why it should be Ghana and not comparable upstream opportunities in Namibia, Côte d'Ivoire, Mozambique. What makes you special in Ghana for the good investors in the room?
Yeah, I mean, what to invest in? I mean, listening to how long it will take nuclear to take root. I think gas, really, we see gas as the transition fuel.
Yeah.
And that would mean that we have to be more aggressive in terms of how we get partners to join us, to develop the numerous discoveries that we've already made. We have about 21, 23, discoveries that are crying for investments. Yeah. It's just that on their own, they're not...
How do you make you the place to invest in?
Yeah, it's about the regime. It's about certainty.
Money has a lot of...
Yes, so what we've done is to correct some of the things that we did in the past that did not enable investors come in. I mean, we take a long time, for example, to negotiate. And that's one of the things that we're dealing with. There are issues that are dear to investors, like stability, for example. Yeah. And I think that our new model agreement tries to deal with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Essentially guarantees that, laws may change, but if they have an effect on the economic balance of the agreement, we're prepared to sit and restructure.
Because laws do have a habit of...
And bring it back.
They have a habit of changing.
Exactly. So if we put it in the agreement and we lock it in there, then we're able to.
Interesting.
So I think my minister talked about how we have, we have changed, we have moved away from the numerous arbitrations that, we go into. And
Keep me going.
Yeah. So the model agreement is something that we're looking at very critically. The fiscal terms may be obvious, but sometimes the language in the various model agreements can be a disincentive for investments.
I can see why that might make you more competitive. That's interesting. Thank you. And so from BOST Energies, again, what are the most compelling investment opportunities you think for international investors and local investors for you?
Okay.
And what can government do to help you make them? A bit like we're talking there, a bit more flexibility. Something the government might do to help you get more investment in.
I think for what the government might do, they've already done it. They've created excellent enabling environment for investors to come in. They've opened doors for us to go out and also engage. We've identified where our shortfalls are and what we need to bridge that gap. So our doors are open. We are ready and willing to engage, partner, collaborate, not compete. We're ready to collaborate, and we're open to engaging investors on a whole list of projects we are willing to embark on now, immediately, and also in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to...
May I just
of course you can.
On safety.
Yes.
It takes a lot more than just having a nuclear reactor to make a dangerous weapon. A lot more enrichment, the delivery systems, etc., etc. It is very, very low risk in the status, and you'd have to be extremely wealthy. You'd need to have a very good bottle of scientists, plus the manufacturing and the Air Force to deliver it. And I don't think most of the people that we would be worried about can do that.
So it's not as easy as the movies make it seem, right?
Yeah, well, I think so. So I would.
You've got the brain power.
Yeah, they have the brain power. But that's why there is such a disconnect between the Iranian and the other. What we do notice, and I'm sure you have too, is that the Iranians on this are much smarter than the Americans. So the brain power is much more dangerous, and you've seen that. Now, whether you like it or not, they are very, very clever.
Okay, well, there you go. So, look, I promised you a short, sharp, positive, investor-friendly discussion. You've had it. Final question for everybody. What keeps you awake at night, which might knock things off course? And what's the one thing that makes you most optimistic about, where do you see the most optimistic thing? Same for all of you.
Yeah, what keeps me awake? I think having just 2-3 fields that are, almost mature means that anything goes wrong with one field, and then the word doomsaw becomes, popular. So we're looking at quickly adding another field at least, which is the Pecan field, that we think we should add on very quickly. Otherwise, we'll have sleepless nights. And in terms of optimism, I think the work that this government has done in this short period gives me confidence that, things can really work in Ghana. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, same as Kwame said, what stresses me most is the fact that for the past couple of years, infrastructure development has stayed below the demand curve. So for us to be able to prepare ourselves to absorb any type of shocks, we really need to be aggressive on building on infrastructure to stay ahead, if not ahead, at least at par with the demand curve. And so, yes, just staying at par with the demand curve is very important to me.
You're Ghanaian. Positive one.
Positive what?
Positive. Optimism.
Oh, yes. I mean, the market is growing. We have all the resources and all the right policies that make it friendly for investment opportunities. And then we're not just asking you to just bring in money and put in. We're asking you to collaborate with us. So you come in and we have a partnership. We put in something, you put in something, we grow together. As the country grows, we also grow, and your business grows.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And Julian, you've seen the whole world. Tell us about your reflections.
What I greatly admire, and I saw it face to face in October, is the governance part. I think you got that right. You have the trust of the people, you have the trust of each other, and you have the power and willingness to criticize each other, take the criticism, and respond. And that's very, very difficult in any country. This isn't just an African thing. I suppose what will keep me awake at night is that too much expectation is loaded on Ghana by all those around it, including from international community. So we have to work together with you. We have to be your partners, but on your terms, not ours. Now, I very much welcome that, because what we can see at the moment is a long overdue correction away from colonialism and all that stuff, which my skin, above everything else, and my language represents. But we have to get used to dealing with that. But at the same time, the governance, if we can do what you are doing, lead by good example, not just talk about it. And somebody said this, I don't want to just talk about it, I want to do this. Now, that's what I'm picking up. Now, if we can help you do it by investment, by technology transfer, whatever it is, partnership, I think, is the best long term, because then we all have a stake. That will keep me sleeping nicely at night.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you very much to the panel. The message is you've got a bit more certainty, and with certainty comes investment, and you've got flexibility to deal with people, and that's, you know, music to my ears after a few years of listening to these events. So thank you very much. I hope we caught up at a time, but congratulations to the panel on all their achievements in the last 17 months.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are moving from